Halloween
Forever.
Huzzah and good morrow, ye boys and ghouls. Welcome to another minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
That was the most 17th century intro I've ever done in my fucking life.
You did it good.
Yeah. Well, we've got exciting news. A couple of exciting things to talk about today on our minisode. The first thing, I would assume this is going to go down in the history books. They'll write about it at some point. First ever live recording of Halloween is Forever.
We're all in the same.
We are literally
Holy
sitting
shit.
only inches from one another.
We're way too close right now,
We're
honestly.
breathing in each other's faces. We're burping in each other's faces.
I'm upset.
We're drinking some beers, but been looking forward to this. And welcome. Happy to have you guys here in the podcast crypt. Podcast cave.
I like
Yes,
crypt
now
better,
you
actually. I like
yeah,
crypt
you have to
better.
come up with like studio crypt or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah, that was right off the top of my head.
Yep.
And you know what? I don't feel bad about it, so we're going to stick with it. But excited to be doing this in person for the first time ever.
Hell yeah.
Get to share some beers, get to talk about the beers as we're drinking them. We talked for probably 35 minutes before we even started recording. Usually they say, save it for the episode. We didn't do that. But we have a ton to talk about here in this week's minisode. The first thing we talked about last week is our episode for next week, which is going to be our main episode, right? Which is going to be as Yinzal voted out there in internet land for our next topic, which is going to be sitcom Halloween episodes, our favorite sitcom Halloween episodes. We talked about that last minisode, and we've decided what they're going to be. It's official. The picks are in, and we're going to talk about real quick, not really talk about, announce what our picks are going to be for next week. So if you feel so inclined that you want to go out and watch these sitcom episodes, dig them up, dust them off, watch them before we discuss them on next week's episode, that might be fun, right?
Yeah, I hope a lot of people actually watch them before, and maybe we can do a poll. That would be cool. This is like wild card move on Meg's part here.
No, I like it because you know what? People are getting, me included, we're sitting in my, podcast crypt, aka my office, and there's a lot of Halloween things as the listeners can't see, but as Meg and Steve can see. So Halloween for me usually starts August 1st, and by my birthday, which is on August 13th this year, it's on August 13th every year.
Right.
It's on. As far as I can remember, it is August 13th. It's on Friday the 13th this year. That is the official kickoff to spooky season in my mind. But I already bought a lot of spooky treats at the Sheets recently, which I was posting about. So Halloween is in full effect in my mind. But
Plus, we're under 100 days.
Exactly. Under 100 days, it's Halloween. It's spooky season in my mind.
It's like, yeah, we're not going to barbecue at your birthday party. We're just going to eat a lot of
We're
candy.
bobbing for apples, bitches. We're going old school with it. But yeah, it's a lot of people online real psyched about Halloween this year because last year it was kind of subdued and everything. So I feel like people are going to be psyched about hearing us talk about our favorite sitcom Halloween episodes. But I'll start if you guys don't mind. Mine is going to be Season 8, Episode 7 of the great 90s sitcom Family Matters. The episode is entitled Stevel, which, spoiler alert, is a ventriloquist dummy of Steve Urkel comes to life. And it's fucking wild, and you're going to love it if you've never seen it. So that's my pick. That's what I'm going to discuss and defend on next week's episode.
Fair enough. I've got one that's a little more recent, and I'm choosing to go with Community. And I don't have the
With
actual
your future wife.
Yes, with my future wife, Gillian Jacobs.
Yes.
It's almost like I
This
set
is
these
so
things up
relevant.
and create threads within podcasts.
It's almost like you're trying to plant some sort of seeds to make some
Right.
sort of reality happen.
Right. Magic thinking. Thank you, Henry Zabrowski.
Yeah. Listen, right hand path.
Manifesting is what it's called. I'm here
right
for
hand
it.
path. I get it.
Yeah. But it's going to be Community Season 2. and I don't know the actual episode number, but it's the epidemiology episode.
Okay.
And it's basically a zombie movie.
Nice.
And a 20-minute sitcom. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I haven't watched a ton of Community, but the episodes I've watched, I've really liked. And I like everyone who's on it. I just don't know why I haven't, like, I feel like it's
a
so
super fun
daunting because
show.
there's
I
so
think you should
many
dive in.
seasons and,
Right.
you know, but eventually I'll jump into it. But
Yeah, no, it's super fun.
yeah.
I'm going with Brooklyn Nine-Nine Halloween 2.
Okay.
So
Which
all
is
of, I feel like,
not the same as Halloween 1.
yeah, well, they do a Halloween
And not
episode.
season of the Halloween season. It's not season of the witch.
It's not season of the
Gotcha.
No, because Andy Samberg's in it, so it's not season of the
Okay,
witch.
gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, they always have really fun Halloween episodes,
Yeah.
and it's already a really fun show. Like, if you haven't watched it, it's definitely one of those sitcoms that I think everyone could get into.
It's like Parks and Rec or something where like the laughs per minute are so high.
Mm-hmm.
You just like I love shows like that.
But it
where
also has a little bit more ridiculousness, I feel like. Even,
it's very
you know?
a little more absurdity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Andy Samberg's sense of humor shines through
Yeah.
very very broadly. But yeah, that should be. It's going to be a tough competition for next week.
No, I think it's gonna be
so.
really fun. I'm excited.
So that'll be next week. That'll be our big main episode where we talk for 7 to 12 hours regarding our picks and argue about them and all those sorts of
We're
things.
going to start at like 4 a.m. and just not stop.
Marathon podcast. Yeah,
Farmer
12 hours.
podcasting.
Farmer.
Get up before the sun's up.
Yeah.
Get the
We are-
podcasting.
And that's what everyone in the interwebs is saying, that we are really the farmers of podcasting. Yeah, that's
When's our almanac coming out?
well, that's fantastic. So today on our mini-sode, we're going to talk about a couple of things. First, we're going to talk a little bit about Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree out at the Mahoning Drive-In in eastern Pennsylvania. I was fortunate enough to go out there and spend some time with Joe Bob and Darcy and all the other mutants. For those who are fans of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs or any of his various shows throughout the year, it was really a fun and bizarre and surreal weekend for a number of reasons. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to get into Fear Street 1666, which was the last installment. We talked about 1994. We talked about 1978 on the last episode, which was super well received. I think we had more listens than any episode we've done so far, like
Wow.
by a while. And we've actually been so.
You can tell how much I keep up on our stats, guys.
we have been our listenership and following folks following us on Instagram and Twitter and everything has kind of exploded. Done really well in recent weeks, which has been very much a fun surprise to us. And that Fear Street episode was even as a mini-sode, a lot of people listened. So thank you for those who did. So
Growth is good.
Yeah. Listen, I was wondering when we started this whether anyone would listen at all, and it's very clear that like hundreds, actually, I think thousands over at this point. We're approaching, I think, 1,000 downloads already. So we probably already are there by now. So pretty excited about that.
We missed an opportunity to celebrate our 666. Listen, what the fuck,
It came by
guys?
too quick.
Yeah, I know. It started like we went from like 50 to like 500 in like a couple weeks. So
Yeah, it just went boop, boop, and it's like, oh, well.
luxury problems, boys and
I'm
girls.
just living in the past.
But so in any case, before we get into that, I do have another little quick announcement and something here, which Meg and Steve are not aware of. So this is going to be a surprise for them. I do have in my possession
Oh my god!
Oh, God.
the official
No one knew our response.
Halloween is Forever Championship belt, boys and girls.
So happy.
How does that make you feel?
Wow.
This is amazing.
This is a thing
I
that
am
I made
so
with my
happy.
own hands out of items that exist in my home. You can't see me, but I am currently throwing it over my shoulder.
Is your
Like
wife
Stone
mad you
Cold,
cut
right?
up the couch like that, or?
So I literally made this out of only things in my home. The only thing I purchased specifically for this was this $5 yoga mat, which I did cut up into several pieces. As you can see, the Halloween's Forever logo. I'll post a picture of it on there. Halloween's Forever logo. It says champ underneath. It says Halloween's Forever on the end. It's got some weight. It's got some girth to it. I'll pass it
I
around
need
so you
to
can get a
feel
touch of it. Meg has one in the past, did not get to reap the benefits.
No,
that's
yeah.
metal right there as
That
well.
is.
In case you're wondering, that
What's
is
it?
metal.
It's
Those are precious metals. Whoa, I
can't touch it.
Yeah, Steve's not allowed to touch. Don't let Steve touch it.
You can look.
Yeah, I can't touch it. It's one. I haven't won it.
Alexa Bliss link.
I haven't won it, but also it's bad luck to touch the belt before you win.
That's true. It's true.
So
Wait, how do we wear it? You know,
so it doesn't have any means by which to wear. At some point, I will put some holes through it. Haven't gotten that far.
we can get some Velcro at Michael's. It's fine.
I think Velcro might be the solution. I made sure I made it big enough to really drape over the shoulder, and really get the full
really
effect.
Important.
Yeah,
I can't wait for us to go to events. Like, I hope maybe like when you went to the Joe Bob thing, like you had.
Unfortunately,
this with
it was not complete until this morning. So
it's fine. There's always next year.
But events,
I would have worn it to the Jamboree for sure, and I would have walked to each corner of the drive-in parking lot, stood on whatever the highest thing I could stand on and flash it. But no, it was just completed this very morning.
Get down from the SUV, Brian.
But we have a belt. I know there was a lot of skepticism as to whether or not a belt was going to exist. I told you it was on back order. When you're dealing with materials of this quality and stature,
right?
It takes a while.
I know the metals; they're on back order.
The supply chain is so messed up right now, guys.
AKA, he didn't finish cleaning out his basement.
Yes, I made that using only things that were already in my house and garage, with the exception of the yoga mat.
The gaffer tape was stuck on one of the boats that got stuck in the canal.
That is Gorilla Tape. Okay,
okay,
that ain't going nowhere. That is Gorilla Tape.
I'm so pleased.
In any case,
but I like there's even like almost shoestring, like holding the plates on. That's like,
it gives it texture.
It's
good.
That's why I wanted some weight, right? So I did that, and then I realized if I did across the bottom, it was going to cover up Champ, so I just did it on the other sides. But boy, there's some pretty impressive sailor's knots behind those.
Nice.
So that thing ain't going anywhere. I mean, you could take somebody upside the head when the ref's not looking 50, 60 times before you see any damage or wear and tear on that belt. So
guess beware.
Yeah, I'll post a picture. I'll post a picture on the Instagrams and the Twitters and all that. By the way, if you haven't followed us already, hit us up on the Instagrams. It's at Halloween is Forever. On Twitter, at Hallow Forever. And then Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook. And then, if you want to send us one of them old-fashioned emails on it. No, it's at Halloween. Or no, it's Halloween is Forever pod. Halloween'sForeverPod at gmail.com. So let's jump into the episode here. Well, actually, let's talk about what we'd be drinking. Anybody got some beers? I know the answer because I'm looking at your beers. But
yes, we've got bunches of beers.
You guys have so many beers. I just chugged the one that I had. Like, I downed it.
Yeah, I'm on my second Pilsner Kel, and we've been recording for 45 seconds, and I'm 2 Pilsners in. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's your house. You get to stay.
That's true. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm not driving home. But yeah, so Pilsner Kel, that's my beer of choice, and frankly, the beer I drink more of than probably anything in the world. So, as you can see with the amount of Pilsner Kel memorabilia that is in my podcasting cave here.
Pilsner Kel, sponsor us, please.
Cryptor Kel.
Yeah. Cryptor Kel. There you go. I like it. I feel like we've coined it.
I'm definitely here for it. I brought a gamut of things. My side sipper is what I call it. Between like the other beer is Sam Adams Wicked Easy Ale, which is AKA Sam 76 that they renamed, and I'm kind of upset about that.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah.
I
That's
kind
what
of
I've
missed the weird wide mouth
yeah,
on those cans.
I remember. And did it have a gold top on, or am I imagining that? The Sam 76?
I don't
actually
recall.
I think Yards does that, but yeah, maybe that's what I'm imagining. But
yeah, no, but I know I brought along a couple pFriem bottles that I'm excited about trying.
We got our desk side cooler here.
I couldn't, when I went to Oregon a couple months ago, I couldn't take back all the beer in my luggage.
Oh, God, you gotta check dark in here.
I totally forgot what I hadn't even look at. So I know there's the Japanese rice lager, and then so we have some options. But yeah, so my friend took them back with her, and I finally got them. So I was like, they're gonna be drank today.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna
leave
love that brewery so much. Dark lager out. I'm trying to get into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me ask a question for people who would know better than. I think probably about 4 years ago, we got a pFriem Oud Bruin We've never opened it.
Honestly, I think you should open it.
I think it. Yeah, we should open it, but it's like, would it still be okay? Like 4 years for an old brown?
Yeah, it depends. I don't know if they pasteurize your beer.
Okay. I don't think they do.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive.
If there was any Brett involved, that thing is going to be bone dry.
Cool.
Most likely, and the acetic acid might have went to a different level because Flemish ales, red and brown, probably one of the few styles where like a significant amount of acetic character is appropriate, and it might have went to a little bit of a salad dressing-y level. We'll see.
Hey, yeah, just have a salad ready.
Yeah,
on the ready. Make some dressing.
But I've had some really old Ode Bruins with that were kept cold and were nice. 4 years is a long time, but I don't know. It'd be interesting.
And we just never found the episode for Hop Nation, and I think it just sat.
I just had an 11-year-old bourbon barrel-aged stout pulled out of the barrel at the caves up in Grand Rapids, and that tasted like prune juice and fusel alcohol. I don't know. It was not great. 11 years was way past its prime. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the only redeeming factor is that I think I have a lot of respect for pFriem as a company, and like everyone I know who like knows them, it's like quality is the focus. So I mean, my hope is that maybe at least like all the factors you needed prior to getting it are like in place. That
they're the only. There's not a lot of breweries that you can go in there, drink their German pills, and you're like, this is one of the best German pills I've ever had. Then drink their Belgian Golden Strong and go, this is one of the best Belgian Golden Strongs I've ever about. I've like just across the board style wise.
Yeah, I've had their Belgian Golden Strong and it is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. I anecdote of that because again, we'll now gush over pFriem for today.
Yeah, pFriem day.
They're our gusher. We do a gusher segment. Everyone knows it.
Everyone gets it. No, I visiting Oregon maybe like 6 years ago. I went to Mount Hood with one of my friends and went to Logston Farms first. Spent the day there.
Oh yeah.
Getting a tour, tasting barrels. Weird like small world shit that the head brewer Shilpy ended up starting at Oregon State University this like shortly after I had left, and kind of like so we had all these mutual friends after the fact. So it was like it's really cool reconnecting and whatnot. And yeah, so that was amazing. Yeah, being able to like taste barrels, like, and also they have this cow's head. So we were at the OG. So now they're moved, but like we were at the OG farm. They have this like cow's head that was poorly mounted. Like it's basically decrepit and decaying as you're like just sitting there. But so I got to kiss the cow and get a photo up with that. And then we ended up going down to pFriem because it was just like right down the hill, and had the most amazing duck confit sandwich. And obviously drank their beer and then went back to my friend's house and passed out because that's what you do after drinking
buttery fatty sandwiches and beer.
Yeah, and sour beer like in the barrel. Yeah, it was just like it was very overwhelming, but delicious and amazing. So
sounds good. Sounds like you had a fun time.
Yeah, pFriem, the food's fantastic. That whole town is just so fun.
Yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah. So well, excellent. Let's get into. Do you guys want to talk about Beer Street first? You want to talk about the Jamboree first?
I don't think he got to talk about what beers he was drinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
I didn't, but I also felt like it might have been a beer we've already featured in the past.
Well, this one, I forgot about that.
But because it was one you had and you just introduced it to us.
Yeah, this is.
Can you pronounce it for me? Like the name of the beer.
Actually, you talk about it because I'll just say I enjoyed it. Yeah,
Jednatka.
Okay.
I think is the way you would say that. Czech Polo Tomavi lager from Notch Brewing, which was part of our gush session in the past. This is 11. So Jednatka means 11 in Czech. Okay. This is, I think, to celebrate their 11th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. But it's also an 11-degree Plato beer. For those of you who love Czech beers as much as I do, they name a lot of things like 10, 11, 12, 13 degree Plato beers it gives you an indication of the strength of the beer because it's the fermentable extract in the wort, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what the alcohol strength is. But once upon a time, it had a huge bearing on the cost of the beer because it was some suggestion of the amount of actual raw ingredients that went into the beer. In any case, this is their Pole Tomavi, which basically means half dark, which aka amber, another kind of a clever Czech way of saying amber beer. So it's like a Czech amber lager, kind of really rich. Think about like a richer, less attenuated, maltier Czech version of like a Vienna lager.
Yeah. I'll say, like, drinking it, I didn't get a whole, like, you're saying amber, and I think a lot of people might get a little confused with that as far as like what an American amber is.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a whole lot of that real sweet caramelly on it. It was kind of dry, and it was like easy drinking, but it was a lot smoother than I think of.
Yeah, that was the beer that I smashed.
Yeah. That's the thing with like, so they oftentimes, and this is something that like Czech brewers won't really talk about that much, and people don't really understand a lot unless you've kind of been involved with the Czech kind of like or talk to Czech brewers. They're kind of secret. They're almost like Belgian brewers in that they'll lie right to your face about what's in the beer. But they talk about, decoction mashing as being the big deliverer of character in their beers, double, triple decocting their beers, which certainly is. But they also use crystal malts. But they don't use, like, a lot of times American amber ales and stuff use like Briess crystal malt. Okay. And Briess crystal malt and other like not all American Briesses. I want to dump them all into the same category. But a lot of times you'll get more of that kind of like burnt, like more astringent Maillard character. Whereas the crystal malts they use and the decoction mass, it's just like a really nice round, bready, doughy type of Maillard character. So, if you tune in for horror shit, we're getting real nerdy on beer shit today as well. So
just say Maillard like a lot more. I love that word.
Maillard reaction. Yeah, we're just gonna do a whole episode about the spookiest versions of the Maillard reaction that we can come up with. So, yeah, that beer's
or we can start rating movies based on where they would be on the SRM scale or something like that.
Yeah. Serbian film is a 45 on SRM. It's beyond none more black. Excellent. We got our beer nerding out of the way here. I'm sure there'll be plenty of it because we don't crack some beers because we're in person, so we gonna get drunk. But in any case, what do we want to? The Jamboree? We want to talk about Fear Street?
No, let's talk
Doesn't
about
matter.
I mean, it's kind of up for grabs.
Yeah, let's talk about the Jamboree because we probably won't talk about it quite as much because I was the only one there of the three of us.
It's more of Meg and I asking you questions.
Yeah, I know. So we don't want to listen to me gab forever, which is every episode. So maybe you do. So this was a couple weekends ago now, yeah? Or no, weekend before. Well, no, this is the weekend. It was last weekend. Jesus God, it feels like it was a month ago. In any case, so out at the beautiful Mahoning Drive-In, for those of you who are familiar with it, out in, I think it's pronounced Layton. A lot of people say Lehighton because it's spelled like Lehigh Valley, Lehighton, but I think it's pronounced Layton. I might be wrong. I'm sure we have a deep listenership in the Mahoning Valley. Yeah, Layton, Lehighton. You can clarify there. But out in a little bit north of Allentown, which is not terrifically far from Philadelphia, maybe an hour and a half or so. So we drove from Pittsburgh the whole way out there. My wife Kate and I, my brother and sister-in-law, flew up from Nashville to Philadelphia, rented a car, drove over. We got there. So on Thursday night, Joe Bob Briggs, for those of you who aren't familiar, he is the last drive-in on Shudder, former host of, Monster Vision on TNT, Joe Bob's Drive-In on the Movie Channel way back in the day, film critic, horror host, just all around huge supporter of...
Says naked the best way ever. Naked.
Yeah. Certainly a good old Texas boy. So Joe Bob is spoiler alert, a character that John Bloom, a guy who's a very, very intelligent, very very interesting, very dedicated film critic, and has been a champion of not only kind of drive-in culture but grindhouse exploitation genre films for decades now. He's a lot of folks in the horror industry big fans of his. If you haven't checked it out, like, the Shudder subscription is worth it just for the last drive-in. But then there's also a bunch of other great shit on there. But himself, and then, you know, back in the day, back in the Monster Vision days and all those sorts of things, he always had a kind of a sidekick, which they would call the Mail Girl. You know, a little bit, not necessarily the most kind of. It hasn't aged particularly well, but the new kind of person who's representing that role is a woman named
She's a
Diana
librarian?
Prince.
Is she a librarian?
She is not. But she is. She goes by Darcy the Mail Girl. But she is very active in the horror community. Is awesome on social media. A lot of really cool causes, and you know she has definitely flipped the narrative on the traditional male girl role for the better, and obviously Joe Bob and everyone has embraced it and kind of brought it into the modern parlance a lot better. But in any case, it's a really fantastic show. Anyway, on Thursday night they did this live show that he does called How Redneck Saved Hollywood. We couldn't make it in that early on Thursday. We came in on Friday, which was the kickoff of the Mutant Film Festival, which is where they had filmmakers from all over the country, and I think even outside the country, come in and they basically had a call for submissions, short films, feature length, everything. And they picked their favorites. And throughout the day on Friday, they had them playing in this kind of big tent on the grounds at the Mahoning Drive-In. So we came in on Friday, we're there till Sunday, and camped. You know, we were set up to camp overnight there. So we were fortunate enough. I know a lot of people were trying to. We got really lucky with the tickets when we went and bought them. We didn't have any trouble. A lot of people were getting, you know, waiting in line through a queue on the website. I don't know what happened. We got very lucky though, and we got the tickets that would allow us to do the camping and everything for those 2 nights. And so Friday was the Mutant Fest. And when we got there, first of all, it was 100 degrees, literally 100 degrees. Felt like 105 or something.
Oh God.
It was brutally hot.
Let's go dad mode and be like, guys, the humidity.
It
like,
was
it's the worst.
It was not a dry
worst.
heat.
No,
It was not a dry heat. It was hot as fuck.
It's the humidity that gets you.
That's what I heard. I had the biggest dollop of sunscreen on my nose you'd ever imagine.
It's like I knew like it was hot out there, and I knew there was a bunch of people camping. And as soon as I saw all that, I just started having like Bonnaroo flashbacks.
Oh, it was like Mutant Bonnaroo, but except for but people were very nice and very supportive. But it was so fucking hot.
I feel like you also caught the bipolar weather because I also saw all the rain and stuff. I'm sure you're gonna touch on.
We got there. It was so freaking hot. And then my brother and sister-in-law, you know, came in a couple hours after we got there. We got their tent set up, and no joke, and I'm not even exaggerating, a fucking monsoon hit.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
An hour and a half of torrential downpour, like sheets, wind, just rain hitting you in sheets, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Like it was wild. Mm-hmm. Everyone's tents were in the woods. Like no, like I'm being an anal weirdo. I double staked my tent down the whole, you know, all the way around, and our tent was one of the only ones that was left.
Oh my God.
Like they were tents everywhere, people's stuff everywhere.
I can only imagine, because it was pretty shitty over here too.
Oh,
yeah, we were getting slammed.
We went after we got in the van, and we were charging. We were using the power from our van to my brother was blowing up their air mattress, getting their tent set up. It starts raining as he finishes blowing up the air mattress. He's like, okay, we'll just get in the tent as the rain passes, you know, whatever. So my wife and I are in the van. They're in the tent like 20 feet away from the van, 30 feet away from the van. And they're texting us going like, should we get out of here? Like, is this a tornado? We're like, well, we're in the middle of the mountains. There's no tornadoes coming. But we're like, no. We're like, honestly, you probably should just stay in there because otherwise your tent's going to be gone. So they just sat in there, dealt with the weather, you know. And I remember our tent was like floating after that. Like everyone's tents were just in like a bog. But you know what? I'll tell you what. The kind of hallmark of the weekend was like everyone was just like, we will rebuild. That was the mentality, and everyone was so cool. I'll tell you this. It was the coolest fucking group of people. Like I met so many people, had so much fun with just strangers. After we came out, our like camp right beside us, was a family and friends from a guy named Matt Sullivan, who we talked about. We actually, I think, are going to have on the podcast. He's a filmmaker who had a film at Mutant Fest, which was fantastic. Was right beside us, and at one point their tent just got decimated. And one of his buddies, I don't even know if it was one of his buddies or was he the camp after. The guy standing in the monsoon, just like leaning against the wind, just slugging a bottle of liquor. I'm looking at him out the side view mirror of the van, and he's just embracing the chaos. I was like, I love the spirit. But we got out. Everyone was like helping each other set back up, moving their tents to higher ground, and then it cleared out and it was pretty nice. It rained a little bit throughout the evening, but that was when the movies were playing, so people could kind of sit in their car and watch them, which is not ideal, but it was fun. The problem became the vendors that were there, because there was a bunch of vendors. They got fucked.
Yeah.
A lot of their merchandise got destroyed, like, because it just came on like crazy.
Right.
So a lot of the things that were supposed to happen in the big tents, like a lot of the like Mutant Film Fest, movies. There was a guy that I wanted to go watch or go listen to him talk. That he was the director of that movie, The Barn. Do you remember a few years ago that came out? If you're not familiar with it, we'll look at. I'll probably pick it for something. I love this movie. I think it's on Tubi. It's called The Barn. It was like a low budget thing. I think they even got some crowdfunding for it. He was doing a talk there, and a lot of that stuff had to get moved or canceled because they had to move the vendors into the tents.
Right.
Even the set that they were going to do the last drive-in live on Saturday night, with the trailer and everything they had set up, it just turned into a swamp. So they ended up the next morning having a whole crew come in, like jackhammering into the ground to like cement another tent and a floor. And then they built another set indoors in one day.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And it looked incredible. I couldn't believe it. They were talking to
That's
Austin
amazing.
Barnes, who's the director of The Last Drive-In, was talking about it. And they went from having everything planned, ready to go, to completely audible to create a new set for the live. Because I don't know this for sure, but I think it's going to get released on Shudder at some point. They completely rebuilt an entirely different set under a tent for Saturday night, the last drive-in.
I'm
awesome.
amazed.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about how, I mean, maybe they saw the weather and they're like, okay, in the off chance we'll do this. But I mean, most likely they're like, who's local who we can, how can we fucking do
and
this
everyone's
today?
like, okay, if it rains, it rains. But I don't think anybody imagined it was going to drop like 3 inches of rain in like 3 hours.
Nobody imagined a swamp.
No, it was wild. So in any case, Saturday, the weather was way nicer. Had a blast on Saturday. All the bands were playing, like John Brennan and everything, who's the music director for The Last Drive-In. Like they played there was a bunch of bands that played sets all day on Saturday. The weather, it was really, really hot. We were sitting there under a tent. We had like a pop-up tent. We were just drinking beers, hanging out, talking to people. And this poor woman just walked by us and just face planted in the gravel right beside us.
Oh my God.
And we picked her up. My wife's a medical professional, so she like was kind of tending to her until the EMTs and everything came and like kind of straightened her out. She was fine. She just kind of had like heat exhaustion type of thing. And she ended up, they were parked right beside us. So like she was fine. She was there the rest of the night. She was good. I think they got her like hydrated and cooled down and everything, but it was brutally hot.
Yeah.
But we had a blast. And Saturday night did the live last drive-in. Spoiler alert, fast forward a few minutes if you want to be surprised by this, but they did Night of the Demons.
Okay.
Which I fucking love. Linnea Quigley was the guest. They had the two. I forget the other person's name. Forgive me, but Linnea Quigley and the other woman that are kind of two of the stars in the movie. And then they did the second feature, which I passed out in the car before it was over. Was Torso, which is a giallo film that I actually had never seen. So I'm looking forward, hopefully, for that to be released. But and then Sunday they did the Haunted Drive-In, where they did a double feature where they actually had haunt actors going around scaring people in their cars. Drive-in.
Cool.
It was super rad. And like, I mean, not to like be overly dramatic about it, but Joe Bob and Darcy and all the people from the show, like John Brennan and all these people, they were insanely dedicated to just meeting every single person who wanted to meet them.
That's cool.
Joe Bob, I know on Thursday night was there. People were taking pictures with him at like 3 a.m. I know Friday night they showed movies. I think I posted a picture. If not, I'll have to do it. I woke up extremely stoned at 4:35 in the morning. I had moved to the tent, fell asleep. I got up to pee at 4:30 in the morning, walked out of the tent, and they were still playing movies at 4:30 in the morning.
So fun,
because a lot of the people were involved in the Mutant Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tent got screwed up, they couldn't show their movies in the tent, so they said, compromise, we're going to show your movies on the big screen, but
that's awesome.
It's going to go all night.
Yeah.
Because the scheduled, double feature and everything, because they did the main, winners of the Mutant Fest, which there was a movie called Tennessee Gothic, which was a feature that was fucking incredible. And it literally was like one of the most impressive, but it was like super low budget, but it was an incredible movie. So they had the program was scheduled to like 3. So they didn't start playing those people's shorts till after that. So they played, I think they were playing movies till the sun came up, which
That's
was
amazing.
such a cool thing. But of course, less eyes on it, for the filmmakers. So, but we got an opportunity I got an opportunity to meet some of them and connect with some of them, exchange contact info and stuff. So we're gonna have at least probably 1 or 2 of them on the show here. Yeah, to talk
that sounds
about.
good.
I was super impressed with some of
This
these
sounds so much
shorts
fun.
that were like, low budget to no budget. And they were just so impressive. So, but Joe, Bob, and Darcy, I know they were up till Friday night till 4:30 in the morning on the, on stage. And then when the lightning started, they started doing it from the projection booth and putting it over the radio station, for the things. And they were doing that till like 4:30 Saturday. I think it was till even later than that. So they were just like, I can't imagine how they probably slept for 4 days after it was all over, but really, really incredibly fun event. And got to meet some awesome people and so
let's tote that the drive-in that you went to.
Oh, the Mahoning,
Like
a roller coaster,
They were scheduled to close after this event, and I don't know exactly if it was just this event or
so we got to talk to some of the people there, including like the manager and stuff that's very much like the face of the drive-in. So the Mahoning Drive-In's been around for 72 years or something like that. They were operating kind of under a handshake agreement with the owner of the land to operate on this big, valuable swath of land in middle nowhere there. And the land got optioned to a green energy, like a solar farm company. And they were going to tear down the drive-in, turn it into a solar farm. And I think there was some misunderstanding about because this drive-in is, they do incredibly well. Especially now there's a little bit of a resurgence of this going on. A lot of people are very faithful to this place. And
can we just have our question? Is are they known for showing horror movies and stuff like that? Okay.
So their whole thing is, when everyone went digital and started bringing in new release, because we have some drive-in theaters around here, but you look at what they're playing Space Jam and the new, Quiet Place 2 and all this stuff. Not all of them, but they have made a commitment to sticking specifically to mostly 35 millimeter, old school, projection films. And most of it is genre film. So this weekend they were doing Christmas in July horror style, where they were showing Christmas Evil and Silent Night, Deadly Night, all that stuff this weekend. So they do these big weekends and it's not all horror films, but it is a lot of genre stuff. They're doing a big kaiju weekend coming up and all that stuff. So they definitely cater to that crowd, and for that reason it's a fucking mecca, right, for horror nerds and stuff. And just the charm of the I posted some I want to live in their snack bar. It is just the coolest. There's a whole wall of VHS tapes. There's it just feels like you're in a different time.
So that was part of their setup. That wasn't something that Joe Bob brought in. All those VHSs.
That's an everyday thing there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just what their snack bar looks like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought that was just a vendor that you found.
No. This place is literally, it looks like it was built by a professional set designer to be the place you would have this Jamboree weekend.
I get you.
But no, that's what it looks like all the time.
That's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's so authentic. It's so rad. And anyway, so long story short, There was just a huge pouring out of support. I mean, I wrote letters immediately to like the Mahoning Township zoning board and to the Green Energy Company, put them in the mail, send them emails. And I think everyone kind of did that.
Yeah.
Especially on Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff. So very quickly, the Green Energy Company, to their credit, pivoted and said, listen, we didn't realize, they kind of were like, they didn't know how important this was to the culture of the community and everything. They pulled out of the project.
That's pretty cool.
And then I don't know who kind of got the ball rolling on this end of it, but the owner of the land has now committed to selling the land to the owners of the drive-in.
That's so
yeah, which is like giving me goosebumps. Literally,
I know, I
just
get
thinking
goosebumps too.
about
That's
it.
awesome.
Like it's just so.
I was almost thinking, I was just like, oh fuck, it's not like some like really shitty company trying to buy the land, so I can't be like super shitty towards them. Like, fuck green energy. Like, I can't say that,
No.
Like,
no, they ended up being really, like I said, who knows? It's a bit of its saving face and a PR play and all that stuff. But like, to their credit, they did the right thing, and they did the thing that was right for the community and the culture and everything there. So it's just like, and for that to happen in the week all leading up to the Jamboree.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, obviously Joe Bob, for those who are fans of his show, like one of his big like sign-offs, he says at the end of every episode is the drive-in will never die. And for that to happen that week
that's super
was
cool.
just so
I just got
so
goosebumps that
perfect.
time.
I know.
Oh my God.
And it's crazy because the weather was horrible. They dealt with every like imaginable issue and all that stuff. And I know, having listened to like Darcy's podcast and stuff afterwards, they were all like, they were very stressed throughout the weekend to make sure no one was complaining. Nobody was upset. Everyone was like, we're rolling with the punches here.
Yeah.
And they just were there to kind of celebrate together. So it was just a very centering weekend. Very like almost dreamlike fun weekend, I think.
I feel like the stoic in me is like very thankful for all of that. It's like, oh yeah, we can make things great.
It was so fun. It was so fun. Look, and they already said they're going to do it again next year.
I'm committing.
Yeah.
Now.
We got
on air.
As long as we can get them tickets, boy, I'll be back. So anything else about that? We'll jump into the film. I already talked way too much, I'm sure, about it. But
no, I think what we should follow up with this is just like a post about some other good, like notable things. I think that'd be cool to like be able to have people check out. That'd be cool.
I like it.
Because we could just keep talking about all the movies, and you could tell me in detail on every single
I
one.
know. We probably could do a whole episode about the weekend, but
if we're gonna have the filmmakers on eventually, then that's the tease for them to come back.
That's why I haven't. I didn't go a whole way into it because I think Matt, like I said, he was a super cool guy, and like we got to hang out with his dad, and he made us cookies and all this stuff. It was super fun. So
like there, or he just brought
He brought him. But yeah, like I was so stoned watching it like 3 in the morning. Watching this, and all of a sudden I get like a knock on the window that scares the shit out of me. It's Matt's dad going, "You guys want some cookies?" And I'm like, and then and I was super stoned. We all were. So when he's like, he made some joke. He was like, "These are special cookies," kind of joking. I was like, but seriously, are there? Because I can't have more weed.
You know what I want to do? And this is hoping that I can go to it again. I want to, how like for Halloween, like there's always like these like little like Halloween like paper bags that have like candy in them. I just want to make a fuck ton of them and just handing that to them. Like almost like let people trick or treat. It's like,
there are people who collect those little bags.
That's awesome.
That are like, go on eBay and find all these old like retro bags. But
it's amazing.
When you find some this Halloween, buy a bunch, put them in a closet, save them for the Jamboree.
No, I'll do it like the day after. Like I get the half price. Yeah. Get away from it. Yeah, of course.
You want to pop into this
yes,
bad boy?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, let's do a sound effect. This is the Czech style dark lager from pFriem. So let me pour you a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Before we jump into beautiful Fear Street 1666. It was really surprising. Once again, you want a little bit of this?
Yeah, sure.
This is weird. Serving beers while doing a podcast simultaneously. There's a first time for everything.
You gotta pour and talk at the same time.
Skills.
Yeah. It's literally my only 2 skills. So 1666, I was looking online. There was even more buzz about this one than there were the other two, which I was in my mind was like, oh, people will kind of peter out, right? They had a ton of excitement around the first film, a little less the second film, like third film, people were like, eh. No, there were people blowing out. We posted something a couple weeks back, I guess, about 94, and then like that whole post started getting like hundreds and hundreds more likes weeks later because people were still out there searching and looking up stuff on the Fear Street franchise. I think overall, definitely more positive than negative that I saw out there on like social media and stuff. But, you know, what we talked about before, extremely polarizing because it's fucking social media. Yeah. Everyone's like, this is the biggest piece of shit in the world, or it's a fucking masterpiece. You know, there's no in between. But suffice to say, a lot of people interested in it, interested in talking about it. So
yeah, I feel like this, like going through the first and the second, it set the standard for the third. So like you went in with like, I'm not expecting a lot, but even from the last time we talked, I was like, this one kind of looks a little better. You know, it looks more interesting. And so I feel like even maybe the buzz could have been like, well, it wasn't as bad as those, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
You know,
I still think I liked, spoiler alert, still think I liked 94 better than, I think it was still my favorite. And this one, I had a very different opinion starting out than what I finished with. Because like the throwback, so the first part of it, I should probably say, and please jump in to probably do a better job explaining it than me, but like they started out going back to 1666, and it was kind of like Dina, who was the main character from 94 and then was part of the bookend for 78. It was her like basically living the experience of Sarah Fear, but she was kind of inserting herself into it, like I think subconsciously, or that was something where
I think she was literally teleported into like Sarah Fear's body, because it's like Sarah Fear has like you got to jump all the way to the end to explain it, but like Sarah Fear has this trap set up to whoever like comes in contact with her body will have the truth revealed, and they get transported.
So
I thought it was like a metaphysical thing.
It almost like slowed it down, like because we saw in like the first two episodes like those like really quick flashes, but this almost like slowed it down like to what you actually see and experience.
It was basically Inception, in which you experienced, you know, a week in 1666, but it's only like happened 5-10 minutes in 94.
But she's like, it's like a metaphysical transformation type of thing where she's like living the story. Like she doesn't have agency in this time. No. She doesn't think she's Dina. Exactly. She is Sarah Fear, and she's reliving the tragedies of Sarah Fear's, you know, last days or whatever. But yeah, so holy shit, those accents. What in the absolute fuck was that?
They tried.
So I'm thinking, you know, and certainly not an expert on colonial America,
right?
But like, would have thought they would have a little bit more of like an English accent.
Some of them were English, some of them were not.
They're very Irish.
So yeah. It all depends. I guess. Where in America would be this?
I mean, I was
imagining it like Massachusetts or something.
I thought they were up near Connecticut, so I'm kind of assuming all of it's up that way, right?
Yeah, that's what I would have
to be East Coastist.
Yeah.
And then
East Coastist, I like that.
Yeah. But they were kind of all over the place with the accents, but they tried at least.
They did try.
So it's better than just getting the regular voices that they would give in 94.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, it would have been better then. But yeah, Kate was like, is this a high school production of The Crucible? Like, what are we fucking listening to? It's all over the place.
But I also think to a certain extent, I'm going to throw this out there as an idea of like who they're trying to appeal to. Like, what if they did have those accents, yet they're trying to appeal to kids that probably don't understand like they're not getting the best education. They don't understand like colonial time. They didn't get the Patriot, that we got,
right?
You know, like
they didn't get.
So they're like, now we're gonna nix these accents.
They're not old enough for the Vivitch.
The Vivitch. Yeah, it was the accents. I mean, I got past it. It's not like it completely derailed it, but yeah, that was the first thing. Within the first 5 minutes, we're like, what is happening with these accents? And then you kind of get used to it. But the first part of it is them in 1666, and again, Dina kind of experiencing the plight of Sarah Fear and ultimately her persecution in the eyes of these jealous,
superstitious.
That's an even better word than I was going to use. Extremely superstitious, dumb as fuck, religious zealot townspeople in the town that she lives in. She's ultimately persecuted not only for her sexuality, but also for, they basically say like, oh, you're gay, you must be having sex with the devil. You know what I mean? And then and then of course there's the character that's in every story like this, which is the sad sack asshole, butthurt ego dude who wanted to get with her, but she had no interest because he's a prick and also she's gay. And it's fuck you, get away from me. So later on, I'm gonna now tell everybody you're a witch. Yeah, because you had a boner in front of everybody.
Everybody laughed at my boner, you're a witch.
You laughed at my boner, I'm telling everyone you're a witch. So yeah, I mean, it was.
I hope that was all the kids' takeaway.
That was literally. We're not even exaggerating. If you haven't seen it, the guy got a boner. She made fun of it.
Yeah.
He told everyone she's a witch. End of story. And then she gets hung. So yeah.
That should be the takeaway. Don't laugh at boners.
or do laugh at boners, but be prepared for this butthurt douchey guy.
I'm gonna give the other perspective. It's like, hey, dudes, accept your boners.
Don't retaliate when someone makes fun of your boners. Boners are weird. Boners are weird, guys.
No, guys, boners are perfectly normal. Okay,
boners are normal.
I'm here
Be
to
proud
comfort
of it.
you.
Like, if you get one, just go, yeah, I got one. It happens.
I'll be honest with you. If I'm around a campfire like that guy and everyone's just pointing at me, go, nice boner, loser, I'm gonna run away crying. Also,
you know what?
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I'm not trying to give this guy sympathy, but like I probably would have ran away crying.
Can one of you promise me next time you're in the bathroom and you're 2 stalls away still, you can give the courtesy. And he's like, nice boner.
Nice boner, loser. Nice boner, loser. Oh, that's what I'm gonna say. Even if I can't see the guy beside me, hey, nice boner, loser.
Right.
And then he runs crying out of the bathroom with his pants down.
Carry like a makeup mirror and then put it under the stall.
Quickest way to get kicked out of a turnpike rest stop. Meg's having an episode over here. Meg's having a full-on episode.
Going back to the episode where
we can't record in person anymore. This is the first and last time. Meg's gonna have a heart attack.
Well, also Meg can do that because if she goes to Trace Brewing, they have all gender bathrooms, so it's just do whatever you want.
Yeah, there you go.
So
nice boner, you fucking loser.
You can test that yourself.
You guys are giving me ideas, okay?
Yeah, the 1666, there was a very emotional end to it, which I think was good. I really liked when they flashed to the real Sarah Fear for her face and stuff. But like, it was very powerful, emotional, I thought.
I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I loved even when they brought her back at the end where she was like talking to, we're fast forwarding, but talking to the Sheriff Good, which you find out. Okay, Sheriff Good is evil. Give me a fucking break. That was rough. That was rough for me.
Yeah.
I like the twist, but the fact that he was named Good.
I get it. Listen, these are novels written for young teens.
That is Goosebumps shit.
Yes. Yeah, I get it that these are baby books.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the other thing is the town. the town is called Union, and then it gets split.
I know. Jesus, you mean Sunnyvale and Shady Side?
Yeah.
Shade is bad.
Yeah.
Sun is good.
It's very on the nose. It's very on the nose. And you know what? I get it. If I was a fan of these books, which that's the thing. If they made like rated R versions of Goosebumps books, I would overlook all this because I love those
it's called
books.
Stephen King.
You son of a bitch.
It's called Dean Koontz.
No, but like if I was a fan of this and knew the lore and knew all that stuff, like I could gloss over that very easily.
Right.
But I don't, so I'm judging it by the standards of kind of everyone else, or every other horror movie, which these would be some very weird on the nose names, right?
Yeah, because I think we touched on that a little bit last time we talked. In that, like, you said you didn't read it, and I didn't read these series either. I went right from Goosebumps to Stephen King.
Yeah, same.
Like I just jumped all the way
I just
to
went
adult.
to Stephen King short stories, right? Yeah. Right from Goosebumps. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't have that young adult phase of reading some of these goof ass things, and plus we're also too old for I was too old for Harry Potter and all that kind of young adult stuff and Twilight that all came along after us. So.
Yeah. No, I just went straight into that college bro Hunter S. Thompson phase.
Yeah.
Right after that. But in any case, so I'm sure we could forgive those if we had a history with it. But in any case, 1666 part of it overall, I thought was it dragged a ton at portions. I wrote in my notes, I'm reading right here, boring but horny. Because they got real horny real fast. I mean, did not expect like a full-on oral sex scene. I was like, all right, good for you, Fear Street, you're getting after it. But then I think it did when they started tying things together. The one thing I'll say for it is, we said in the last episode they got a lot of splaining to do. I feel like they did a pretty good job.
They did.
Bringing everything together. There were some holes, yes, we'll get to them, but like overall I was like, there's no way they're going to pull this stuff together in any reasonable way that makes any fucking sense. And I was like, oh, they kind of did.
Yeah.
I did feel like they did, but what I felt like with 1666 is that they knew they had to do that. So they had this very long movie of explaining all this history and then did it really fast.
Right.
It was all smashed together. Well, I'll tell you this much. I was going to say they smashed it all together, but at the same time, I kept pausing this, because Kate and I were watching it, it was Friday night, we were sitting on the couch kind of thing. And I'd get up to, go to the bathroom or grab a beer or whatever, and we'd pause it. And I'd go, how is there 58 minutes left? There's no fucking way.
When I started it, I was like, this is 2 hours long? How?
Exactly. And then I remember one time I did it again. Excuse me. Went back and I was like, the movie's over. There's 25 minutes left and the movie's over. It was wild. Yeah, we were very surprised by that. But
yeah, I think overall though, they did wrap things up pretty nicely, but the fact that they wrap everything up in this kind of 2-part movie that they have going on just really reflects how badly the other 2 movies don't stand on their own.
Yes,
because you're so confused all the way up to this point. And it's just like, oh my fucking God, I don't know what's happening. Now I have to sit through this lady's fucking story all the way to the end. And now I finally know what's going on.
Right. I can agree with that.
It was, it seems like it was a series that would have been better served by being like an hour-long episodic thing.
Right.
That was tried to jam into one big giant script. And then they were like, yeah, we can't do all this in one movie. Let's cut it up. Which, again, I mean, it's worked. A lot of eyes got on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like the story would have been better served by being, a series with hour-long episodes, a la Stranger Things or something.
It would probably allow for that slowness, though, because I feel like we see so many shows out there that are super slow, and you're just like, oh, wait, okay.
Oh,
now I get it.
Look at Breaking Bad. There's episodes that are a little bit more downbeat or whatever.
And it's interesting because they did produce these movies basically the same way they do produce shows on Netflix, and that they filmed 3 movies all at once, and then release them week after week. And I think that's why, like, you still saw so much like talk in the 3rd week, because that it wasn't so far spaced out that people couldn't just grab everything at once. Like if you release a show now over 8 weeks for 8 episodes or 13 weeks, you're gonna have like definite fall off. But I think 3 weeks is like that kind of safe space that you can still release everything in 3 weeks, and you're still going to have everybody jump on and watch everything.
I think that's like a cool point. I feel like to even talk about like how we're consuming shit now too.
That's cool. You brought up in the last episode. I think you're absolutely onto something where they structure the pacing of the movie now to have built-in screen time for people, like the 2-screen experience type thing where people are going to be watching it while they're posting. So like it can't be bang, 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 bang. Can't be a fast-paced movie anymore because you have to have built-in screen time for people to look on their phone and post about it and all that sort of thing. Like,
especially if you know positively, absolutely for sure, people aren't watching it in the theater.
Yeah.
In the theater, you can maybe still structure things, and I did.
Yes, for sure. For this, so in the theater, not so much, but this for these home release or whatever digital release only type of thing, And
I meant to look in to see if that's like an actual theory. I'm sure. I feel like it is.
In my mind, it is now. And I bought it, and you don't even have to prove it to me. I'm on board with it.
I need to prove it to myself because I feel like maybe I'm just stealing something I've read already.
I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And now, like, even watching 1666, that's all I was thinking about the whole time, because it dragged so hard at certain points.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably one of the youngest of us, and I was just like, no, I'm gonna look at my phone right now.
I was the whole time. I was taking notes, so that made it easier to like swap back and forth between the notes and Instagram or whatever. But yeah, it feels like it was built in. Hey, can I ask you guys a completely off topic question? The kid, the little Dina's little brother.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting his name.
Mm-hmm.
It started out with them, a pig giving birth to piglets,
right?
And they had to perform essentially whatever the equivalent of a pig C-section is, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they kill the pig later, he pukes.
Yeah.
Why'd you puke, bro? You see this stuff all the time. You literally started out saying it.
I think it was more about the purposeful, they had to kill the pig.
Maybe.
Because I got sad.
Maybe he was also just generally sick at that point from everything being sick and gross.
That's true, too.
So maybe he ate some bad fruit and then watched a bunch of pigs eat pigs.
With his character, just as a sidebar thought, is that I almost thought that it could have worked if it would have fallen along the same type of storyline as the main movie. So the kid wouldn't have died, or the little brother. I almost thought that would have happened, obviously.
Yeah. That was the other thing is they when you go back in time, you have the obvious connections of Sheriff Good, and the guy who plays Sheriff Good in 94 is also kind of the sheriff alderman or whatever Good in 1666, and they have these weird connections. Yeah, but they're not perfectly one-to-one.
Right.
Of who's what actors are playing what.
Yeah,
it's well, okay, I guess you tried to make some sort of connection somewhere.
Yeah, because they were saying it's a lineage thing, right? So everyone else was just the other actors, but it wasn't necessarily those people.
Right.
He was the one who's his family. And I guess they're trying to say that all the shady side people and in Sunnyvale both all the lineage comes through the decades and the people don't move away from these towns or whatever. But Sheriff's Good, they even showed later on when they're in his house towards the end, you saw the family tree being brought back to whatever that one guy that Alderman Good or whatever.
Yeah.
Solomon, that's his name. Yeah.
So moral of the story. Get the fuck out of your hometown, guys.
Yeah,
for sure. That's always a good
you think some shit like that isn't happening around here? Because it definitely is.
But yeah, it happens all over this area. It's called opiates.
Yeah.
That's the curse.
That's true.
The curse is opiates.
Now I'm sad.
The one character in 1666 that was really he didn't need to be there was the guy that they were trying to basically make him the character's name is escaping me, but Paul Dano's character from There Will Be Blood, the preacher, the young overzealous preacher type-ish type of guy.
Eyeball thing.
Yeah, well, no, not him.
Right.
The one who's starts saying people are getting. He starts having that talk in the town square at the beginning about the devil has come here and blah blah blah.
He was the one that
the
played
bad teeth
Thomas.
Guy.
Yeah, he played the Baghead killer in 78.
Okay.
And then he comes back as this superstitious. I think he's called Mad Thomas.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's Mad Thomas, and he's super superstitious, and he's
he's got real
crazy.
Fucked up teeth.
Yeah,
black teeth, literally. They're looks like he put shoe polish on his teeth. Don't listen to the guy with just jet black teeth.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why.
I don't think that would have existed in 1666. That guy might have been really attractive.
He had. Listen, I get it. It's the 17th century, but his hair was 40 times greasier than anyone else's too. It literally looked like he put Crisco in his hair. Yeah.
He seemed like the town drunk. I don't understand why everybody was listening to him.
And also, why was he the most devout, ultra religious? I get it, the superstitious thing, but don't listen to that guy.
He's also the drunkest. Imagine you go
true.
anywhere where someone is super drunk, maybe possibly homeless. You know what you're going to hear out of that. They're going to be rambling on about things you're nope.
Yeah, he's the drunkest, and he's in the woods, the drunkest, and he's seeing the most ghosts and the most devils and the most big feets.
Yeah,
that
morning.
Right, that morning, and he blasted out of his mind, but he comes back to the town and says, "I saw a bobcat, and it was making love with the devil."
I woke up and had to talk myself out of feeling like that's the type of shit that I saw.
Right.
I was I saw a chupacabra stole my mail. And then they're wait, no, I just dreamt that. Never mind.
The devil is a blight on the community. I threw a dog in the well.
Wait, did I throw a dog in the well?
Uh-oh.
Man, guys, we need to do shrooms and watch a movie together and then record at the same time.
I'm looking at my notes here, and I just see boner guy bummed about his boner. This was
He's
my notes
bummed
there.
about his boner.
He's very bummed about
That's like some weird indie band's
Yeah.
name. Bummed about my boner.
It's a little college radio, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I did like the wrap up to the 1666. I really like so here, when Dina did well, it wasn't Dina. Again, it's Sarah Fear. But, they did they want a witch, I'll give them a witch type of thing. I really like that. And then it did come back around. But like right after that, it was like this big like motivation. We're going to go get them. Mm-hmm. But then, no, we're just going to run away. Right. But then in the end, she kind of, they don't really say, do they ever really say exactly how she inflicts the curse?
No, it really doesn't. And I think it's just like it's magic manifestation.
Yeah,
because she doesn't use any of the devil related
Solomon's book or anything like that.
I mean, you think about all the superstition that was going on. Then, like, I mean, for the most part, you have to believe. You have to believe. Right. You know what I mean? So, like, she created this. So now we just have to believe that this is something that's existed for so long.
Some power of positive thinking.
But magic is real within this world. So it's not hard to believe that just her own will.
Yeah,
she can inflict.
I thought she was going to take Solomon's book because we didn't really talk about it, but he sells out, I guess, for just like power and prosperity of his family or his descendants. He sells out the whole town and basically says, listen, if we sacrifice one person every 30 years so we can maintain this, that's not that bad kind of thing. But then it turns, he doesn't, of course, as when you make a deal with the devil,
power goes here.
He's a trickster. He's going to do some weird shit.
Like, I mean, we know early on from Solomon that, like, he had lost, his child and his wife very quickly. So I'm not here defending Solomon's choice to make a deal with the devil, but also, hail Satan, whatever.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the exact same thing 10 times over.
But, I mean, you got to think about, like, I could see, like, how it could make sense in his brain as a character to, like, go make this deal. I don't want anyone else in my family to die, so I'm gonna make a deal with the devil. We just have to do all this shitty stuff, and so that they can all live on and have very prosperous lives.
I think the idea is that his arrogance and him being probably blinded by grief in some capacity, his arrogance led him to think that he could control this deal with the devil. It's just like, there's a million movies where like, hey, this is idiot proof. It's foolproof. I'm going to make this deal. Things are going to work out great. Well, it never does. Right. Because he's, he's always lying. He's always deceitful. That's what the devil does. Right. Mm-hmm. So it was almost like his pride and his arrogance clouding his judgment to think that he could keep this up, which, you know what, in a way though, he kind of did, right? Because they kept it up for like generations and generations and generations and were prosperous for all that time.
I mean, but was really he getting over? I mean, I feel like them having to bring another character in to like be murderous, that was like their sacrifice. So it wasn't even like he was getting one over, but it was like he was just maintaining it.
Well, I think what it was they thought that they were going to offer someone up every 30 years, but I don't know that part of the knowledge of the deal was that person was then going to perform a mass murder. Also, so I think that's the trick of the devil kind of thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the trick of the devil is once that person's soul is forfeit, then the devil also takes over that person, and then goes to Murder Town.
Yeah.
So that's
interesting.
Did anybody think her hand came off pretty easy?
Yeah. Yeah. Super
I feel
fragile.
like it's way harder to get a hand off.
But you know what? Back in that time, they didn't have a lot of calcium. They didn't have good diets.
That's true. The brittle bones.
Super brittle, super fragile. Everybody comes apart pretty easy.
Yeah, you're probably right. They probably had that disease that Betty White always warns you of.
Yeah, osteoporosis.
Yeah. That
at 13.
Man, she's still kicking.
God bless Betty White. Yeah, so eventually she sacrifices, right? So she takes the fall to allow I forget what the original, what the 1666 version of Sam is.
I think it's Hannah.
Hannah, yeah. So they take the fall so Hannah can survive, so her friends don't get lumped in with her. So she kind of sacrifices herself, but then also, swears vengeance on the goods throughout the years. So, I kind of thought this because it was like this big sacrifice kind of thing that she did, but she already got her hand cut off. And I'm pretty sure in 1666, that's pretty much a death sentence.
Pretty much.
I don't love your chances of survival when you got your hand like hacked and gnawed off and
did they
snapped
really
off.
understand even like cauterization at that point?
I don't
Probably
know,
not.
but it wasn't seem to be bleeding. And I was like, listen, I don't think there's enough leeches and cabbage leaves to straighten you out, bro. You're probably going to die. So, it was probably best case scenario to be hung rather than have a slow death from infection.
Yeah, slow gangrenous death.
That's a metal album.
It is.
Gangrenous death. So
Cannibal Corpse is definitely going to have a new album called that.
Eventually, they all kind of, come to know the truth. But then they go back to 1994, and this was the part that I enjoyed more. But it was definitely like more holes in my mind.
Okay.
With the whole thing where they kind of set a trap. So they go to Gillian Jacobs' character, who was Ziggy, all grown up, and basically say, "Hey, look, Sheriff Good." The lineage of his family, he's the one who's perpetuating all these things, yada, yada. We're going to set up this basically trap for them in the mall. And I love that they just went right into a Home Alone montage. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good montage. But it was just like, they went full on, like, 80s montage from like this super serious 1666 stuff back to 94 and a full-on montage, and you're kind of just zapped right back into that.
It was also the first time that they had dropped a modern day music cue.
They did,
because you go the entirety of 1666 without that over oppressive music. They jump right into The Offspring.
Yes.
And I don't know, it didn't even feel like it fit well.
No, it felt. Listen, I was such a big Offspring fan back in the day. Like, was it Smash? Was that the album that one was on?
I believe Smash, yeah.
That was the first album I ever bought with my own like allowance money on cassette from Kmart.
Yeah.
And I love The Offspring, but even that being the case, it was so out of place.
Right. And there's even a like kind of a better Offspring song.
Yeah.
So I believe it's the album right before Smash. There's a song called Beheaded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Beheaded is such a great song.
That would have but it's not buzzworthy. It's not
right.
It wasn't a radio
Not
hit.
enough people would have known it right away.
Yeah, no.
I
that
like that you
was their
guys
big
like
radio
brought
hit.
music back up when we already established they fucked up.
Yeah.
They fucked up
It was
hardcore.
kind of like they only actually have like 3 music drops within these 2 hours. And but that one, it stuck out so bad and it hurt and it just
We didn't get any sick loot riffs or anything like that, unfortunately, but
no Slayer on loot.
We did get Super Soakers, and it literally went into a Ernest Scared Stupid Are You Afraid of the Dark area there for a second, where their primary weapon was Super Soakers filled with blood.
You're like, oh, we're back to baby books.
Yeah. And listen, I recently purchased a couple of Super Soakers for my kids. They do not make shell ejecting noises when you pump them. At one point, they literally went to one of the characters, I don't remember which one, and they like pumped it.
Yeah.
And it went like...
Yeah.
I was like, that's not what a Super Soaker does.
That's not bad.
I also love the idea of when they were out. They were all surprised that they were out. You could tell. You not only can you feel the weight of the liquid in the bottle of the Super Soaker, but you can see it in there. They were very surprised to learn they were out. That's where again started to lose me, but I was kind of digging the whole montage vibe and everything of it. So the proxy killers, they can regenerate after exploding, which we learned in 94. but they can't get through a mall fence or the back door of any of the stores. I mean, the axe guy in 78 hacked through 90 walls.
Right.
But in this episode, none of them can get through a fence or can go out the back of one of those stores and come out another entrance, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that was a little much for it felt like, listen, and
was that more to do with the fact that the mall had the tree and it's maybe somehow trapped them into that space? Because then they also brought that other guy that had been getting arrested that was just like, no, this is like the most secure place, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and he was the guy who showed them what to do.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe there was something in that like they weren't very explicit about, you know?
Maybe if they're in eyesight of the tree, they're not going to circumvent it in any way. I don't know. I just was like,
or if they just have, because obviously they're very singular minded of following the blood of whoever they're after.
Sometimes.
So if they
sometimes, sometimes. It's also that.
So like
but they'll kill cops who don't have the blood on them.
So I guess if the blood wasn't going out that back door, they wouldn't think to follow that. There's no trail for them to go out.
I suppose so, but like, why were they killing the cops?
I don't know.
Yeah, there was no blood
in the way. I don't know.
And
I want to make some weird
I'm not trying to pull every single
something.
hole that I found here, but these are just some of the ones that stuck out glaringly to me. How were they transporting Sam?
Mm-hmm.
She was like possessed, freaking out.
She was,
and they were just bringing her along like she was in a fucking lunchbox.
Well,
like,
they had her in the trunk for the beginning or end of 78. Like they get her in the trunk of a car to Ziggy's house. So I just assume they threw her back in. You guys are
setting yourselves up to be very clearly like, you guys are not serial killers. You don't understand how you would move a body.
I also was like, if they're so one-minded, the proxy killers, if you will, how are they not? They're all a manifestation in some way of this curse of Seraphir, right?
Right.
Would she? How could she not get them to not attack each other? No.
They're not a manifestation of Seraphir.
They were chosen. Like they're being controlled by like.
Yes. The devil. They are the devil's whole thing. Yes, because they're part of. Yeah, you're right.
So, and we went through this on the last part because we didn't. Again, there wasn't enough for us to fully understand.
Yeah.
So I think the way it goes is, after your name gets up on the wall, you lose your life, and then you get possessed by the devil.
Right.
Then the devil goes on a massacre, and does whatever the devil does until that body is killed. Once that body's killed, then it becomes something of that mass.
Yeah.
And the witch,
the pulsing weird heart thing.
Yeah, the pulsing weird heart of Sunnyvale or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the witch gets power over that mass.
Mm-hmm.
So like they can use the killer again, but it doesn't have it's not in the same kind of condition as it is when it's possessed by the devil.
Right.
So that's why it's more singular minded.
The proxy killers are more like weird zombie-ish type mentality. Yeah.
That's why they don't kill as much, and they're not supposed to kill non-targets
unless you're standing in their general proximity.
In a direct line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did you guys feel about the reveal after Dina seemingly gets stabbed and then she's got prison armor of Fear Street books taped around her torso?
They did set it up a little bit, so I was fine with it. Like they showed her walking around the mall with an armful of books during the montage.
I missed that.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't bother me.
That makes me feel a little bit better because I completely missed that, and then I was like, "Really, we're going?" Right. Yeah. I just immediately thought of like Terry Crews's character from Friday After Next, putting on the phone books, putting on his prison armor, and I was like, when did she get that mentality? You know what I mean? I don't know. I must have missed that scene, but
it was there. It was either like right before the music montage, or like I think they're all gathered around the tree, and she just has like an armful of books, and you're like, why do you have an armful of books?
Yeah,
because I remember trying to read the books. Like, are those actual Fear Street books? Is what
Somebody
I was trying
told
to read.
me, what did I hear? I read online that the Fear Street books, when they showed them in the bookstore back in '94, the title were, I think, real Fear Street books. I don't remember, but the author was Robert something, which is what RL and RL Stein stands for.
Yeah.
I forget,
I saw
Robert
that too.
Lawrence, Robert something like that.
I
Yeah.
feel like Robert Lawrence.
Yeah,
I feel
that's-
like because I read that like when we were talking about
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, we didn't get much, Meg, regrettably, in any much witch vibes, but we did get a taxidermied goats, I believe. We did get at some point.
We got a removed goat head.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm here for it.
We're close.
Did that
That's the best
satisfy
we could
your
do.
witchcraft?
It's the best we could do.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, my overall take, I kind of didn't love. There was a few parts, but I did not love the first like 45 minutes. I was pretty bummed on the first 45 minutes. Like, this is going to be a fucking slog. And then it picked up, and I kind of liked the end of 1666 portion. And then for the most part, the 94, again, there's some holes, there's some things going on there, but like I generally enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, these plot holes are too much for me when we just talked about how psyched I was to watch Night of the Demons the weekend before. So I think a lot of times I'm guilty of this, being a much bigger fan of 60s, 70s, 80s horror. Like it's very easy for me to give that a pass. And then when modern stuff happens, I'm like, there's a plot hole, I'm out. And I'm like, meanwhile, I was totally okay with Linnea Quigley like putting lipstick in her nipple or whatever.
But still, that's the thing is like they have all these times of learning to do better. That's what you have to learn from mistakes of the past.
Right.
You know, the things in the 70s and 80s exist as they are because like you're only 70 years into the world of film to begin with, you know?
Yeah, that's true. This is a very young medium. You gotta remember.
And how many years of like talkies did you even have at that point? So yeah, you only have at that point 30 years of talkies. Now it's, we're using computers to build things, so there shouldn't be plot holes in your dumb script.
What do you guys think they're going to come back for a sequel? Because at the end you see the good Sheriff Good gets killed, which I thought that was cool. It was very satisfying because not only did she show him the plight of Seraphir, and he knew everything. She made him touch the big pulsating mass of whatever the fuck that was. So he sees everything, then stabs him in the brain.
Right.
Which I thought was great.
The only thing I was going to say is, like, I could see them, like, doing something again like this, but I don't foresee them, like, either, like, continuing anything related to it. You know what I mean? Unless there's, like, a story related to it, kind of like sometimes some of them have, like, the...
like a spin-off type of thing.
Or, like, a connection in some way, shape, or form, whether it's, like, okay, a Sunnyvale. Like, you see other movies that have just, like, okay, it's, like, the town is the connection, so now we can keep doing more stuff.
Trailer Park Boys is the continuation of Sunnyvale, and goes get the trailer park is built on the former Sunnyvale, and then
Jesus, our land's cursed with piss bombs.
That was an impressive Bubbles.
It was actually really good.
That was a great Bubbles. I almost tried a J-Rock and I didn't do it. So the only reason at the end that I was thinking about that is at the end you see the evidence, and they've got all the little they look like little table tents, but they have like numbers on them. They put beside the evidence markers, and of course the book. That Solomon Good or whatever, originally did the deal with the devil via this book is sitting there. It's all kind of charred or whatever. And of course, did you notice it was evidence number 13? Piece of evidence number 13. But then someone snatches the book and, assumingly runs away with it. So they did leave the door open, obviously.
Yeah. I'm kind of with Meg. Like if they do continue it, I hope it has like absolutely nothing like other than name only. I don't even really want like characters, because like American Horror Story does this all the time of like bringing back same actors to play roles.
That's what I was thinking of, like, too. It's like where there's somehow some sort of thread, and like American Horror Story is a good example of like they're trying to they make it very clear
loosely
that
connected.
Like they're all so.
But I hope there's almost like no connection. Like I just want it to be name only and just do something completely brand new.
But I like the idea still of doing like what they did with like 3 movies in 3 weeks, so you can still get the satisfaction to binge something. You still get like this whole complete story of sorts. And I'm still okay with the idea of them making it so it's like made for younger people. Like I'm still kind of okay with that.
I've never watched Twilight, or what's the one with J-Law?
Hunger Games.
I've never watched any of that stuff, but I assume like this is the horror version of that stuff.
Probably. I haven't.
I feel like
haven't
I've
either.
watched one of each, and I mean, I would say yes and no, but I feel like if you're thinking about something that I put myself more in the place of like, what would I wanted to watch? Because like even thinking about when I was super young, Halloween Town from Disney, I'm like,
I still love fucking
yeah,
Halloween
I'm just
Town.
like
yeah.
that was super awesome, you know. But that's what my mind goes to is like something that would still be interesting. I honestly
There
actually
wasn't
feel
a
like
ton, and I haven't watched Halloween Town in a couple years. I don't remember a ton of cunnilingus in Halloween Town.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is a little bit more edgy than that, you know.
But I think
like,
kids are more edgy nowadays than you know, like that internet is the devil. The internet is the devil.
What was PG-13 for us is not PG-13 for them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if I was 11 or 12, I'd probably be really into it.
Yeah. I wish I would have seen that bread cutter fucking death when I was that age. You know, like
I would see.
I'm thinking like maybe like mid-teens, like you know, between 15 and 20.
Yeah,
you know?
it seems like a 14 to 18, 14 to 20-ish kind of target audience there. But in any case, yeah, I mean, I listen, if they bring more out, I'll watch them. Sure. That was kind of my thing, is like kind of really hated the beginning, then was way back on board, then just finished kind of lukewarm. And that's kind of a microcosm for the entire series for me.
I kind of like that we're all just kind of like, yeah, I'd watch it again because we all just like tore it the fuck apart.
Well, no,
because
don't get me wrong. I would
things.
never watch it again.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's no rewatchability to this.
No, I would never. There's no way I'm ever going to watch it. But I'm not unhappy I watched it.
Right.
I enjoyed it fine enough. There were times where I was like, God, I can't wait till this is over. And then there were times where I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is fun. So kind of you net out in a very
It's a fun way to burn, you know, a couple weekends or, you know, a Sunday if you're hungover or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not, I don't know, it's not a masterpiece. And again, because one, the first two parts can't stand alone. And two, it relies so heavily on reference because it's Scream followed by every slasher movie from the 80s followed by the Vivitch for kids. And it's just kind of like, all right. Like
VeggieTales presents the Vivitch.
Yeah, exactly. But if the next series
honestly,
is something...
I hope my future children have that opportunity to watch that.
Yeah.
VeggieTales for Vivitch. Little Vic and VeggieTales.
But so that, I guess that concludes our multi-part minisode series talking about Fear Street until next summer. When they obviously bring it back to recapitalize on it. There's no way they're not gonna, because people were so psyched on it. Psyched on it. I think I just posted something about like, hey, we did a new episode on Fear Street, and I posted like a picture of some like promo storefront that they did for it.
It's like 1,500 likes or something like that.
Like 1,500 people liked it or something. I'm like,
it's full of comments and it's full of likes.
Literally,
I
just Google image Fear Street.
Right. Oh my God.
So people were all about it. So I'm sure others will be waiting for another installment. There's no way they're not going to dip their toes in that again. So
hopefully they'll come back with Legend of the Sam Squanch.
Goddamn Sam Squanch.
Oh, Jesus, Julian.
Next time, if we do that in the future, we all need to come in with tumblers of rum and coke. Oh, now I'm in the mood to watch some Trailer Park Boys.
Right.
In any case, hope you enjoyed us talking about. Again, next week we're gonna jump back with another full blown episode where we're gonna talk about our favorite sitcom Halloween episodes. We've got some Community, we've got some Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then we've got some Family Matters. I mean, just listen to that lineup. I mean, how can you go wrong with it?
It's good TV.
Once again, all good shows. Once again, if you don't already follow us, check us out on Instagram at Halloween is Forever, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook, or Halloween is Forever pod at gmail.com. And go, like, subscribe, write a comment, do something on there if you feel
all these
so
nice
inclined.
Things that people are saying, and I get really fuzzy.
I know, we got some really nice notes from people.
Make me feel good, guys.
Got some very nice notes from people. It's been an absolute blast, and we appreciate them. And if you feel so inclined, go ahead and do that. But in any case, we will see you next week. Anything else I should add here? before we jump off? I think we hit the long and short of it. So we'll talk to you next week when we talk about Halloween sitcom episodes.
And I get the belt.
Don't say it. Don't you fucking say it.
I'm gonna take that belt.
Bye.